Hey everyone, my name's Kyle and this is Yuna. She's about 16 years old and she has asthma. For those of you who have a pet with this condition, you know that it's degenerative, that the older they get, the worse it's going to get, and it's harder kind of for them to breathe, and it's kind of harder to deal with. For several years, my wife and I have been trying to fight this with just lifestyle choices. We've got her with special litter boxes, the breeze systems that don't kick up dust into the air that just aggravates her condition. She's on special food for diet and everything, so she's not taking in a lot of stuff that's gonna make her feel worse. She also takes a lot of medication. She takes pills and syrups. She takes a heart pill because as her condition has worsened, like a lot of pets, the heart has to pump harder, and it can cause it to become enlarged, and it could lead to a heart attack if not properly treated. A few months back, however, her condition really started going downhill. She was wheezing really bad and nothing was working, so we ended up taking her to the vet. They had to put her in the hospital for a couple of days, and they had to put her in an oxygen chamber. And our vet suggested at that point that oxygen therapy was something that she was going to probably need more consistently going forward, and that we should start considering options and things that we could do here at the house. My wife and I came home. We started doing like a lot of research, just trying to see what we could figure out. And today I'm going to talk to you about what we found and what we ultimately came up with. So first of all, there is a lot of good stuff online. There are, if you go to one of the pet store websites or Amazon, you're going to find some oxygen chamber things that you can buy for pets. Now these are expensive. They're like in the $400 and up range, which was way outside of what we could afford. But there are a few drawbacks to those also. You can't, unless you have a really small pet, chances are they're not going to be able to move around much in it. They're not going to be able to do much in it except just lay there. And in our case, Yuna freaks out when we try to take her to the vet. The ones that you can buy look a lot like pet carriers, and I didn't want to cause her any unnecessary stress from having to be put into it. So that kind of led us to looking at some custom options, some things that people have built. So we took to a lot of websites, forums, Reddit, that kind of thing. And there's some really good options out there as well. The biggest issue is that a lot of these have a lot of parts to build. They're hard to build. They have some like high-tech gadgets like O2 sensors and temperature gauges, and all this together can also run into hundreds of dollars. Not as much as one of the ones you can buy online necessarily, but still a lot of money and a lot of work. And for people on a budget like us, it really wasn't much of an option. We also don't have the aptitude to build things like that either. So that kind of led my wife and I to start thinking about what we could actually do. And today I'm going to share with you what we have done and kind of how it has worked. And so let's get started. So what we bought is we bought a nice tub. We went to Target and bought all of this. The tub cost us about $15. As you can see, it's actually pretty good size. She is not a small cat. She's about 17 pounds right now. And she can get up, she can move around, she can eat, she can drink. We were able to put a fan in here. The fan cost about $10. We put a baby blanket in here that we bought off the baby aisle at Target. That was about another $10. So you're looking at maybe about 35 bucks for most of this setup. Now, there are some obvious concerns with this. First of all, if we take this off, you'll notice that this is not a snug, secure thing. It doesn't really seal properly for like what you might consider with oxygen control. You can kind of lift the lid, tip the lid, and everything, and that would create some problems. In our case, however, this was actually helpful. It allowed us to kind of experiment with the oxygen therapy and trying to give it to her, determining what would work and what wouldn't, in a relatively safe environment for her, in a situation that wouldn't really stress her out or make her condition worse. Now, the problem you got to run into with a tank like this, if you're trying to build one, is you need to make sure that there is enough air going into it, obviously, which the oxygen tank kind of provides, but also that there is enough circulation for CO2 to come out. And so with that, we've actually put some holes in it. There's 9 holes in this thing total. And if there's not enough, then the tank will start to get really foggy. It'll kind of get like humid inside. It gets really hot, and it's not really good for the pet. So having something that wasn't terribly secure in the onset was actually helpful. It kind of helped us alleviate some of that until we found something suitable that could work and she could kind of function in and thrive in and be comfortable in. So that's kind of what we did. Now, as far as the hose, we drilled a hole through here. We drilled a hole through here, and we bought this little PVC connector from Lowe's. It cost about $3. And if you can see here, there is kind of on the inside, there's a little kind of rubber washer ring inside of it, and that gives the hose a really just snug fit. It helps it to fit really just nice and snug. It helps the oxygen go in, and it kind of keeps from a lot of kind of air from coming back out. That's one of the problems we also kind of fought with in the early goings, trying to figure out how to get the air in without it just kind of blowing back out and wasting our time. So this is kind of what we came up with. Now, a couple of things. We started this whole process with an oxygen tank that provides about 6 hours worth of air. We were able to rent it at our local medical store for about $10. And that worked fine for a long time. That worked fine for a good couple of months. This past week, however, I took her back to the vet. Her condition continued to degenerate. The therapy that we were able to provide with tanks just wasn't sufficient. She needed longer, more intensive therapy than what we could give. And so we took her to the vet. He gave her one of her steroid shots, which kind of helps offset the condition, but it becomes less, it works less the more you give it to them. So it's not something that can just fix. And at that point, they told us that she was going to probably pass soon, because her wheezing and her labored breathing was just so bad that we were really afraid we were going to lose her. At that point, we decided that she needed probably more intense oxygen therapy. So we went to our medical store and we traded in the tanks that we had already depleted, and we got her a compression unit, and that's kind of what it looks like. And it creates its own oxygen, and it allows her to stay in for a much longer period of time. Now, there is a couple of things I want to caution with when using something like this is that this thing, this unit here, does crank out a lot of heat. It blows a lot of hot air out of the back, and she's making a mess in her cage right now, and I don't know why. But anyway, but it blows a lot of hot air out of the back. You need to have something like this in a room that's relatively cool, so have fans going, have AC going, and that's also just kind of emphasizes the need for having something in the cage to kind of just keep that circulation and kind of keep her cool, to have water for them to drink, to have food for her to eat if she's going to be in there for a prolonged period of time. Now, for the past few days, we've been keeping her in this for a few hours at a time. She's been in here for about probably about 2.5 hours now, and I'll probably be taking her out here soon, letting her roam around, use the bathroom, get some attention, that type of thing. And then I'll probably put her back in for a few more hours this afternoon. We have been able to keep her in here for longer periods of time. She's been able to stay in it overnight and basically get up a couple of times to check on her, make sure she's okay, then go back to bed. But she's been doing really well, and if you can tell just kind of her general breathing, her breathing is not nearly as labored as it was a couple of days ago. Her breathing is much more regular, and she's doing like way better than she was earlier this week. The reason I'm sharing this with you is couple different things. First of all, like I said, this is not a perfect option. There are way better options out there for people that have the money, for people that have the aptitude to build something better. But at the same time, if you're like my wife and I, if you live on a really tight budget, if you don't have a lot of aptitude for building things, then this is something that you might want to consider. All you really need is a drill and some pretty good sized drill bits, which is not terribly expensive. As you can see, she's doing well. She's comfortable. She's not stressed. And surprisingly, it works. It has, I mean, the small, short doses with the tanks and everything, they worked. They were working. Her condition, because of her age and just external things, have caused her to get progressively worse. But the more extensive therapy has helped her to function and to kind of rebound a little bit, and we're very thankful for that. If this is something that if you have a pet that has this condition and you feel, if you're on a kind of like on a tight budget and you're not sure what to do with your asthma pet, this is something you might want to consider. It's not perfect, like I said, but it works. It works for her. It works well. It's helped her to function, to kind of to breathe and to feel better. And honestly, part of the reason I would say that she's still with us is because she's been able to get these treatments. If this is something that would help you, then it's not expensive, so try it out. And if you have an asthma pet, especially an older one, it is heartbreaking to watch them suffer and to watch them struggle to breathe. So I just wish you the best of luck. I hope this video is useful to you, and thank you for watching.